All right. Hello and welcome to Leader Transition Institute's April training and coaching session. If you're with us for the first time today, pardon me. Is that playing for you, Matt?
It's live. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I know what I'm doing. Hold on. I have my everybody. Matt Sivacek's learning how to do this for you. So yeah, I'm live. I'm sorry. I had my YouTube open and I was hearing myself after hearing myself. So I apologize. Welcome, everybody. Matt, thanks. If you're with us for the first time today, though, Leader Transition Institute, or LTI, as we like to call it, is a 501c3 organization that prepares and walks beside people who are making pivots in their lives. I am Matt Sivacek, your humble LTI Vice President for Operations, and I'm really glad to be here with you today. Our flagship program is called Changing Focus, Moving from We to Me. It's designed for service members and veterans of any era and their spouses who are transitioning from active duty to the civilian sector or really want to reset their transition. We hold these training and coaching sessions on the fourth Tuesday of each month as a way of continuing to add value to the military community and those around us. Our sessions are open to anyone who's interested in adding value to themselves and others. If you're not already a member of the LTI community, but you're interested in learning more, please put that in the chat or Twitter feed, and we'll be sure to reach out to you. Also, you'll have access, now that you know us, to all our previous recordings via our YouTube channel. And I'm going to go ahead and pop that up on the screen for you. Today, if you're wondering about project management or really how you can certify in your future, get ready to take a ton of notes because we are fortunate enough to have Matt Quick here as our guest expert. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks, Matt, and great name too.
Yeah, that helps. I will not forget your name today.
Not today.
Speaking of that, this Matt is the military and veteran program lead for the Project Management Institute. As a retired Army Sergeant Major with a background in human resources, he understands the value of people and values people. He understands their impact on organizations and projects. So now at the Project Management Institute, he helps our military service members and veterans see their value and share their experience and skills while connecting across the wide community of project management professionals and certifications. So Matt, I know I am, and the rest of our community is looking forward to hearing about your journey and the lessons you've learned along the way. So the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Matt. And my journey, listen, although I was a sergeant major at one time, it's okay to walk in the grass. I'm not that sergeant major, or I wasn't. I'm excited to be here today because working with Project Management Institute and now LTI working together, I think really getting the word out there about community. When I left the military community, I felt like I was missing something. So I tried to stay inside the veteran community, which is still the military community, and give back because I've been giving back for years, learning and giving back. And that will be the theme of today's, talk. Leaving the military community, I didn't want to leave forever. I want to leave, get some knowledge, come back and bring it back. But joining PMI and honestly, Matt, when I was asked to check PMI out as a job or a career, a recruiter reached out to me, and I said, "Well, what is PMI?" And that was a year and a half ago. So I tell my leadership, I didn't know what PMI was, and in the Army, I was a career coach. I work retention. I don't understand the value of certifications, but we'll get into that. But a year and a half ago, I didn't know what PMI was. I knew what the PMP was. That's drilled into your head during transition. But PMI, I didn't know. I started researching it. I'm like, my goodness, this is great. There's as soon as I got a free account at PMI.org, I started researching because that's when you prepare for an interview, you research. Did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people in the organization. I found out this is the community that I wanted to be a part of. So this was the most nerve-wracking interview process because I really wanted this opportunity. I went through a few rounds of interviews, and then I didn't get the job. I was like, no, but I want to be part of this. So I was talking to the number 2 person organization. They said, well, we loved how you interviewed. We love your energy. We want to bring you on. We're going to find a role for you. I'm like, thank goodness, because this is how the military should be. Go from military community to a project management community. I tell you, it's a lot of similarities, Matt. And I love it so far. And now my job here is really to advocate for the profession, which I actually love. And I'm going through some project management courses. So I'm not certified yet, but I'm going to get there. So I'm an advocate. I talk about the ease of use. I want people to understand how easy it is or how easy PMI makes it to get certified. Okay, the exams aren't easy. The tests aren't easy, but it's worthwhile. But the processes are easy. And then lastly, community. This is a community that a lot of military veterans and military spouses should think about joining. It's a free community, so why not join? But there's so much value, Matt, and we'll get into all of that as we go. So my journey from military to now Project Management Institute, it was a 4-year journey. And my transition from the military was pretty simple because I planned for years and I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep helping people in specific ways.
Wow, man. So there's a couple things that just really jumped out.
A lot to unpack there, Matt.
What's that?
A lot to unpack there, I know.
Well, there is, but the first thing that really hit me is you didn't get the job the first time, right? And that perseverance kicked in. You knew your passion, you knew what you wanted, and you followed it. The other thing that honestly knocked me over, besides the specifics of PMP and PMI, is that you were planning on getting out over a long period of time. You were planning your life, and for our military veterans out there, some of us, it's the day after we get out that we really realize that we have to grow up. We always used to say that, right? What do I want to do when I grow up? What am I going to do in the real world, the civilian world? Mm-hmm. And I was one of those people. And that's why I became passionate about LTI, helping veterans, because I study the brain. I study how we think and feel. I study mindsets, and I fell on my face when I got out. So I'm just glad to know you. I'm better for it. And for you sharing that it's okay on active duty, my friends, to plan your exit with a lot of time. So yes. I just needed to share that because my family, I'm lucky to have a wife after that transition.
Oh, yes.
So you mentioned PMI versus PMP. To people with acronyms, that sounds the same. So can you explain ultimately the difference?
Because really, I get that a lot. So, because I didn't know about it, I want to really learn. I want to ask people questions. So I'm naturally curious. I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes people get frustrated because it's like, hey, are you thinking I'm kind of, not on your level? No, I want to find out where your baseline is so we can have a conversation. So I didn't know what PMI was. So I asked people the questions. What is PMI? They said, well, that's a certification. No, PMI is really the community that offers the PMP training and certification and continued education to maintain that. But PMI is the institute. It's been around for over 50 years now. And they just, like the Marine Corps, they started in Philadelphia. So I'm a prior Marine. So that right there was like, oh, that's awesome for me. But it's really the community of like 700,000 global project professionals. That's a huge community. So going from the military community, which is, well, the Army is probably 1 million strong, but 700,000, whew, that was for us. So PMI is the community. PMP is the gold standard for any credential in project management. So
Okay.
if you're a project professional and you've been doing it for 3 years or more, get your PMP. Because like in the military, if I walked into a room as a sergeant major, or you as a W5, which is a unicorn, if you walk into a room, people like, it's instant credibility. They see what's on your chest or what's on your shoulder. They see that. Okay, that person knows what they're talking about. That's the PMP on the outside. The
Okay.
problem with what military they do is they get the PMP or they go through the training certification as they transition. One of my missions here with PMI, and they understand this, is to get that knowledge pushed back 3 to 5 years. That way, let's say for your retention education programs, if you re-enlist for, let's say, 3 years, hey, offer them a week off or two to get trained on the PMP or CAPM, the Certified Associate Project Management. That's a foundational one.
Okay.
Get trained and educated on that. Get certified. The next 3 to 5 years, you can put that into practice. That way you're trained, certified, and as you transition, you have all that experience. Now your transition is easier. You're not cramming. The one question people ask is, why would I get certified years earlier and then I get recertified again at the end?
Okay.
No, you maintain a certification through continued education. No more. You don't retake the exam, because that's anxiety and nervousness. I get that. Take the exam earlier and maintain that for years. That shows you're really truly a project management professional.
That's a great one. I wasn't 100% sure about that. I'd heard about maintaining it, but so you don't get it. It's kind of like your college degree, right? You get it, and then 10 years later, you haven't done anything to maintain it, so you don't even remember. Maybe some
Certifications are a continuing education process. The ones that have end dates like 3 to 5 years, you have to earn PDUs or CEUs every year. And through PMI, they're basically free. There are some paid ones, but they're free. Then LinkedIn Learnings. There's just so much. PMI as a community truly takes care of our own people.
Okay, that's great to know too, because that was one of the ones that I'd, there's always the naysayers out there. One was the continuing certification requirement and the cost associated with it. So there's ways like through PMI and other organizations to really maintain your credentialing, and I'm sure you have to take an annual. Is it annual, Matt, or is it, how often is your recertification or maintenance?
There's not recertifications.
Okay.
So take the exam, and
Right.
as long as you maintain your PDUs, your professional development units, and your CEUs, you maintain that certification.
Okay.
So
there's a lot
unlike a
of
college
levels.
degree, I graduate 20 years ago, I haven't used it in 20 years, I don't have to maintain that. That's a degree. Certificates are a training completion. Certification is an ongoing education, keeps me knowledgeable or anyone knowledgeable going forward. Now, if by some chance you don't earn your PDUs or CEUs, you fail to maintain that certification, yes, you may have to take an exam to get it back, but maintain those PDUs.
Well, this is the thing. This is the biggest challenge I've run into with myself and a lot of people is maintenance. Maintenance is the hardest thing. It's both, the daily maintenance and growth, but then maintaining our PDUs. But that is the reason they do that. I can guess right now. It's because it ensures that you're staying connected and you're using the information and you're growing.
And there's so many ways to maintain your or earn your PDUs is to attend a training, attend an online event, go through a course. You normally get one PDU per hour or per course, but that's a way to do that. So it's not that hard. And if you break it down over a 3-year period, earning 10 to 12 or 15 a year, that's not a big investment. And you maintain that. But there's so many ways. And PMI's community, PMI.org, once you get a free account, you can see the career navigator, you can see the kickoff course, you can see so much value in there, and they make it easy for you to, okay, here's how many you have, here's how many you need, here's some ways to get some, and they're free.
Wow,
it makes sense.
That makes a lot more sense. And the other question, a lot of people, you mentioned it earlier about the challenge of getting your PMP. Like it can be, but I've also heard, for those of us who've been in the military for a long time, it's really more of a rebinning of the information we already know and the skills we already have. Can you expand on that a little bit for our veterans?
A lot of the military community manages projects. We do, especially based on your rank. If you're at E5 and above, you're probably managing projects once, twice a year. As maybe E7 and above, it's a constant thing. I was managing projects. I was managing programs, a program manager in the military since like 2003. Okay, it's 20 years now, right? Of managing projects. Imagine if I was actually trained on how to manage projects and programs. I thought it was good, Matt, but if I was trained and educated, I would have been so much more effective and efficient. But they just say, hey, Matt, run this project or program and figure it out. So you get with your friends, you get with your buddies and mentors, they help you figure it out, but there's no true standard. PMI is that standard. So when it comes to project management, program management, product management, there's so many variables here. The hardest part for the military and community is testing out. Okay. You're not learning a new language. You're really reshaping what you know into a standard. And there are tools that you can get that help the stress and anxiety of testing. I don't like testing, Matt. I don't. I wasn't great in school. I just didn't like testing. I just couldn't focus. But with mentorship, PMI has what's called a study hall app that they have that you can. I love apps. I think we do. This generation loves apps. So get an app and learn that. Quizlet. There's so many things you can do that. But the test, stress, and anxiety. When people join their local PMI chapters, and we've got a bunch in America, in North America. There's a bunch. Find your local chapter, join that, get the mentorship. They have study groups there. They share their experiences, and they talk you through, this is how I passed mine. It'll help you pass yours. So right now we're working, a lot of them already have this. So PMI Carolina chapter, they partner with Fort Bragg to bring PMI there and do boot camps and give resources. So we're aligning a lot of PMI chapters with military bases. Dayton, Ohio with Wright-Patterson. Just so many we're doing right now, just to get those people to understand the military community really can get into the project management community. We have the skills. We have the abilities. Just test out and give it a shot.
Wow. Yeah, the help, right? The help is key. And there's a natural anxiety to taking tests and to having to prove what you know. I remember way back in the day when we had to take those annual exams to show the military we still deserved our MOS. I don't know if you remember back to those.
I would have lost mine probably.
But I, again, other than it being time consuming for the military, that's a great way to ensure that people are growing and know their job. So I love that. And the fact that PMI is there to help people. And I just want to say something about test anxiety and just for those of you out there, right? That's very common, right? Yep. But what's the difference between anxiety and excitement? Really, they're the same energy. It's just how we're perceiving it. So that would be my challenge to all of you, is rather than being anxious about taking an exam like the PMP exam, be excited about it because it's an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and once you're excited, it makes everything easier, doesn't it?
And yeah, it's
So,
exactly right. And earning your PMP isn't the end;
yeah.
it's the beginning. So earning that PMP could be the beginning of a whole new career. And even if you don't want to be a project manager,
Mhm.
knowing how to manage projects is still a wonderful thing. I spent 25 years in HR in the military, Matt. When I was getting out, people were like, hey, HR is a route you should go. Do HR, do HR. So I followed the advice. I went through Onward Opportunity, IVMF's Onward Opportunity. I went through the SHRM SPHR training. That's a senior HR training. I'm like, I've got years of experience. I can do this. I went through the training and I realized I don't want to do HR. It's not the same in the military and the civilian world.
Mhm.
You're governed by laws and all these things. I didn't want that. I wanted freedom. So then I found project management. I'm like, so I can lead a project, talk to stakeholders, which could be anybody, leadership, customers, and talk with end users or customers. I can lead this project, stay on task, on schedule, and under budget. That's what it is. And I can make people happy. That sounds like a cool job to me. So I fell into this, and now I'm really a champion for the project management profession because I was one for many years, but I wasn't very good at it though. I'm getting better.
You, I also appreciate that. I used to kind of um, chuckle to myself when people told me to put on my resume that I can do project management as a retiring W-5. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, true, I can, but I'm with you, right? I only know what I learned really just by figuring it out. It was I don't want to say it was disorganized, but it certainly wasn't as
No
as
standards
quality
there.
as having an education, right? An actual course that I'm using, and it goes back to again the PDUs, right? The continuing credits and maintaining that because I always vent. Everybody who knows me, this stuff is therapy, and I vent. The military education system, I love the courses, but it's the maintenance and growth of the knowledge after the courses that the military has always struggled with, because nobody's making you do it, if you will,
Yeah.
and we're all used to being made. So
There's no
that
forcing function there.
yes, and that's what I like about it. I did want to ask. So what was the most for you? What was the most challenging part of converting, your knowledge of project management as you understood it to that credential in the PMP? So as
Now,
when you're learning and transitioning to get that credential.
I haven't yet earned my PMP.
Okay.
I,
Well,
I want I want to go through step by step and learn a lot of different things. So I'm going to go through my certified associate in project management first, my CAPM first. And
okay.
people say, don't do that, don't waste time. It's not a waste of time to go through and learn what others are about to go through so I can be better informed. Again, going back to I want to learn things to teach things. If I can experience what's going to go through, I'm better at talking through the conversation. But for me, I ran a lot of projects in the military, and one of them was have you ever heard about the Security Force Assistance Brigades,
Yes.
SFABs?
Yes.
So I was working in FORCECOM,
Mhm.
Forces Command, the Army's largest command, and I was working in the G1 in the retention section. I was leading the retention section, and my boss says, "Hey, there's opportunity for you to develop or grow or start this SFAB recruiting and retention effort." I'm like, I love starting projects and seeing them through. But in the military, we move so often, we don't get to see the end
Mhm.
result at times. We can start them, we can give a good foundation, but we don't see the end results. To this day, I still talk with a lot of the SFAB people that I put into place. They're serving everywhere else right now. And they remember our conversations and our talks and us traveling around the US to give these briefs to hundreds of people that didn't want to be there. They didn't care about the SFAB. They didn't like the beret color. But we got through this with a lot of resources that helped us, form the narrative, get the talking points, establish budgets, establish, credentials, establish, training. So we were leading these projects. I didn't even know what it was. But like you said, we figured it out.
Mhm.
This is why the military community is so good at being project managers. If they want to be, they already have a lot of attributes needed, especially leadership.
Oh, wow. I love that. And it's exactly that, right? It's we talked about rebidding the information and organizing, and it adds a foundation to your knowledge, which seems kind of backwards, right? But that's what I kind of feel, is that I've learned all this stuff, and now I've got actually data research and education that I can put underneath it to make my knowledge and skills far more powerful and useful and organized, right? So yeah, instead of figuring it out and it taking me, a week to figure something out, it might take me a day or a couple hours to start organizing that plan so that then we can begin executing.
Matt, I'm
Because
not a big reader. I'm
yeah,
not a big reader. I don't read a lot of books. I read like military leadership books. I enjoy that. It's fun for me.
mm-hmm.
What I used to love reading in the military was regulations, policy and regulations. I'm kind of a nerd. I get that. But if I knew a foundational knowledge, the science behind it,
Right.
I can be the artist that constructs things.
Yep.
This is where PMI does a great job, and they have what's called the PMBOK, the guide, the project management body of knowledge. It's really the flagship publication. It's a fundamental resource for all project management in any industry. Every industry, including HR, has projects. So if you know the fundamental knowledge, and this book, I got the digital version. I refer back to that. So for the science of it, but I'm the one that makes things happen through managing projects. If I had this thing, and it's on the 7th edition now. I think back when we were younger, it's probably 5th edition. I'm not sure. But if I had that, I could have led projects a lot more efficiently. This is why I'm a big advocate now, because I know what could have been. I want to make people's lives a lot more simpler just by giving them the information that I wish I had.
You have the playbook. Right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
It makes it all easier. And again, I can't. It's this is both therapeutic, and I swear you're a brother from another mother too, because it is. I do like the science behind things. I like that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I like having the answers before I need to give the answers.
That's key right there.
And in education for the sake of learning, not the sake of certification. I've seen so many people talk about getting their PMP because they want the credential, and the credential is valuable. I'll ask you about why that's valuable. I totally get that, but the truth is, and you're the first one to really say it. It was something I was thinking, but it's the actual education that's the value.
Yeah.
Right. The credential just opens the doors.
That solidifies your education.
Yes.
But what's even more valuable than the PMP? Being a PMI member of the community. And listen, I've always loved not being the smartest person in the room, because if I was, I can't learn anything. But right now, being in this community, there's so much I don't know. I just ask questions, and people they're not bad. They said, "Hey, go figure it out." They tell me, "Hey, Matt, this is why it's like that. This is where to find it." I'm like, "That's awesome." So being this person in the room that's not the smartest is educating me so quickly. I have all these resource guys. I have mentors now in the project management community. It is truly a community. So the PMP, yes, is valuable. It's instant credibility. But being in the community is much more valuable.
Wow. I again, the power of community.
Yep.
Having people around you that it's like our conversation. Again, I've heard this so many different ways, and the way I'm hearing it from you is resonating with me, right? When I have a community of people, everybody's going to say very similar things differently, and it's and I'm going to have the chance of finding that person. I used to talk about community also goes with collaboration, right? I'll never forget one time I was given a task to write a mission statement. I wrote the best mission statement. It was perfect. And then I handed it to the community, the group, and they tore it apart and made it different. But it was what I learned there is, again, it wasn't better for me, that new mission statement, but it was better for a lot of people. So that wealth of knowledge and community allows you to meet the needs of clients or organizations in a way that maybe you wouldn't originally see it, right? And again, having that those people, I always have a saying, right? I can see my trees, but you can see my forest. Will you help? And that's exactly it. Having those people in your life. So I'm glad you said that. And you said 700,000.
700,000 members of the community, almost. But they're there, and I haven't met one person yet that has been like dismissive. I can ask a question and get a response back normally within minutes, but a lot of times within hours, because different time zones are global. But I ask the questions, and some of the questions that the military community ask me is, Matt, how can I get it for free? How can I get the PMP for free, the CAP-M for free? I get that. And my thing is, my first thought was, is that valuable investment in yourself? I don't say that, but I say, listen, if you're still serving, Army, cool. It's $4,000 a year. CA. And then as you transition, or even units can fund it as well, and units are funding it. We're seeing a lot more units now taking a group of 8 to 20 people, putting them through either online or a in-person boot camp for 4.5 days, 5 days, and they're seeing the value of their processes improve, of their projects improve, and they're for the first time ever, Matt, it seems like the military is saving a little money here. I know we bust budgets all the time, but with these things in place, we're getting a lot more for less. And that's what the military is all about. So people units are seeing the value. I'm seeing colonels now, sergeants, majors now, seeing the value of project management. And they're asking me, hey, Matt, how can I do this? Well, I've got people that I know that go train, but here's how it works out. But there too many are still, because they don't know yet, too many are waiting until they transition to get these certifications, to get the training. And they're learning about it. And a lot of them, I would say 95% say, I wish I knew this sooner. Like me. I say that right now. So I'm out there talking. I get to travel around military bases. I've got lifetime access. I can talk to anyone on LinkedIn, through Facebook. I'll find them. We'll have a conversation. And I don't sell anything. I educate about a community, about the PMP, the CAP-M, whatever you want to talk about. And they're like, that solves my problem. A problem you didn't know you had yet. Wow. This is what I love doing. This is why I love the work that I do for the communities I do them for.
Wow, Matt. A couple of things jumped out to me again is, number one, whether we're in the military or in the civilian world, if we don't value ourselves, enough to educate and invest in ourselves, how can we expect other people to value and invest in us, by hiring us, right? True. So that's one. The other one is so number two is, you talked about people waiting too long, working on their PMP at the end, when they could have used it on active duty, in service, when they could have learned and polished their skills. So then they're coming out the door even more ready to serve an organization, if that's where they choose to go. So, and we run into that at LTI with, again, we do changing focus, which is about helping service members move away from the it's about everybody but me, to I need to figure out who I am, so that then I can get out into the world. They a similar thing. Many are waiting till the last minute, and I would quite frankly recommend that changing focus course. The 24 hours of work. It's spread over 4 days, but it to anybody after their first term, because if you don't know who you are and you don't know what your purpose is, it's only what you're told. My purpose in the Army was I was an Apache pilot. Well, guess what? That purpose got taken away when I retired.
Yeah.
So that's an existential crisis. And so what I'm getting at is figuring out who you are, like through our course, figuring out what your passion is, which this is exactly what I heard you saying, not in these words, Matt, is you found your passion years before you got out of the military.
Yeah.
And you started working towards it, but you found what your passion was, right? Instead
Yeah.
of what the military's job was for you.
I was a career coach in the military, retention career coach, career counselor. I found that job one day by walking around the Pentagon, and I saw a shiny badge that I didn't know what it was. So I walked up to him. I'm, hey, Sergeant, what's that badge? He goes, oh, it's a career counselor badge. So we had lunch in the Pentagon, and we talked about the career counselor badge. I was big into badges. I like military trinkets, and I didn't recognize that one. But that point on, I'm like, I want to be a career counselor next. So I was working in the Pentagon on General Shinseki staff, and as he's retiring, people are getting what they wanted. Assignments to Hawaii, assignments to MEPS, drill sergeant school. I'm good. And I said, well, I want to be a career counselor. So he signed a letter that I can be a career counselor. And I didn't go through the 6 months of probationary period stuff. I went to school. People found out that I got in. But this is why I do the things I do. I've always loved helping people. And that is a general talking point for anybody. But I like helping them in their careers. There are specific things that I work with them to figure out what their purpose is, what their why is, and who their who is. Who do you want to help? Who do you want to serve? What do you want to do? These kind of things. Mm-hmm. So that's why I got into the career coaching after the military, because I love people. And just so we're clear, I didn't plan years for my retirement or my transition. I woke up one day and I told my wife, I said, I think I'm retiring. She's like, oh, great. In a year from now? I'm like, no, I think I'm done now. So I went to my boss at Forcecom. I told my ops first. I told my boss, I'm like, I'm retiring. They're like, well, we got a year. I'm like, no, we have 2 months. We have 2 months. At that point, I didn't understand what it was, Matt, but it was burnout. Mm-hmm. I was burnt out. Doing the SVAB thing, doing the ACFT thing. I was doing so many things. I was burnt out. So I told my boss, I'm going to retire in 5 months. I'm being on leave in 2 months. I was just done. So we got a replacement quickly. I got out the door, and then I was like, now what? I had no plan.
Okay.
No plan at all. But in theory, in reality, I was planning for years, but I didn't realize it. Paying down debt, networking, building a brand, doing things that I didn't think were helping, but ultimately they were helping a lot. Finding mentorship, those things helped me out. The reason I was so successful in my transition was I had a mentor. His name is Jeff Stitzel. He was the old guard CSM when I was there. He wasn't nice to me while I was there. He's my boss. He wasn't nice to me. He wasn't nice. He's just CSM. He wasn't nice. But when I was retiring, I said, I have 2 months. He goes, don't think about this. Do what I tell you to do. 3 things a week. I went and did those, came back. We talked about it. Here's 3 more things. Did that, came back. So in 4 weeks, I was fully prepared to retire because of his mentorship. Wow. He said, don't think, just act. I did that because I trusted him. We all need mentors like that. And I think that's what LTI brings to the community.
That is powerful. That is really powerful. It's the difference, right? Coaching helps you kind of find your way. A mentor takes their experience and gives you the answers really, and just says, just go do this. Just stop. Don't fight me. I love that. I love that you had that's amazing. The other thing that hit me while you were talking too earlier was about people wanting it for free, right? People want, hey, how can I get my cert for free? Well, this is a substantial challenge to the military community is understanding true cost.
Yeah.
And you hit true cost earlier as well when you were talking about spending money on the PMP for your people will save everybody money because it'll save everybody time in the end. Time is the true cost in the end, right? The money piece is simple. When everybody, military friends and family, when you got on this in the civilian world, your value is really limitless. The only limit on your value, the amount of money you can make, if you will, is really placed on it by you.
Yeah.
And your own limitations, but you can never get more time. So investing time, that's your real cost. That's the decision. As far as throwing a few dollars at something, don't ever worry about that, because if it means something to you, it'll exponentially increase your value or worth to others.
It will.
So that's a tough transition for a military family, because again, the military told you your dollar worth all the time, and it was for 24 hours if we wanted it.
Yeah.
So the sense of time as being the real important commodity resource. I think I know over 30 years in the military, I did not understand that.
And there's plenty of, if you really want free resources, and honestly, I had the free resource Onward Opportunity when I retired.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was free to me, I didn't take it seriously, admittedly. Nope. If I invested in it myself, like I invest in my own courses now because I want to be held accountable by myself and my bank account. But I didn't test out for my SPHR because during the training, I found out it's not what I wanted to do. In my mind, I thought if I test out, then I'm pigeonholed into HR. I didn't want that. It wasn't true, but it's what I thought. Right. But in the military, they have like DAU has free courses. The Air Force has Digital University, free course. MWR through Military One Source has free project management courses or any other courses. But the problem is, like you said, the time investment. When they're willing to invest their time and actually educate themselves, I get it. I understand it's not easy. But if it's worthwhile, you'll prioritize that for yourself in your future.
Absolutely. The whole misnomer, the saying that we use as an excuse, I don't have time. No, you don't choose to spend the time on this, and we can discuss that. That's fine. But you do have time. And again, the financial piece of it is really not the limiting factor. It's just I reiterate it because I feel like we're programmed to think that way in the military. To the point, and you nailed it. I have numerous friends, and we discussed this at LTI as well. We want to give things to people for free, cost wise, and because again, we realize the big investment's your time, and we're investing in you as well because we care for our military community. But there is that thing. If the military holds money as the greatest value or our people, then if they don't have to spend money on it, they don't appreciate it the same. Unless
No, you're absolutely right. I'm removing free for the most part from my vocabulary and using at no cost to you.
Right.
Because there's a cost. LTI can't run by itself. PMI can't run by itself. Yes. The military, they don't understand budgets as much as maybe they should be because they're funded by taxpayers. So they don't understand or appreciate that. But when you have to generate revenue for yourself, your family, or a company, you'll understand, oh, that's why I have a budget. That's why I can't go over the spending budget. That's why.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point as well. And the friend I was talking about, he had programs that he was glad to send people through, but he found out if he send them for free so they could experience, they did not value, right? And truly nothing's free. If you're spending time on it, that's a cost. So um, the importance is just acknowledging, right? And I think, again, in the military, we have trouble with that because somebody's running our life for us most
Yeah.
of the time. So we just are almost passive passengers. And it made me think, you mentioned General Shinseki. And he had one quote that I really loved, and it was, if you don't like change, you'll like irrelevance even less. And
Powerful.
and that is a great quote, and he's right. Everything is, you were always changing from second to second. Everything, the entire world is changing.
Change
Exactly.
isn't bad. Evolution is real.
That's right.
Evolve with it.
That's right. That's right. And enjoy it. Opportunity.
Excited about it, right? Not anxious, excited.
That's right. Not anxious, excited. It's the same feeling. It's the same amount of energy. It's just,
Right.
How do you frame it? So, another question. I think some people still struggle with the need for the credential. What does that do for me? If I want to get a job, why is a PMP a good thing for me to have, besides the knowledge? The knowledge is absolutely critical, and we both agree. The community, absolutely critical. But that credential, how does it help? What does it do for me?
Again, Matt, it's like walking into a room. So a lot of jobs now we're seeing in the project management realm, whether it's a government contract, a subcontract, whatever it is, they're requiring the PMP or the CAPM. They're requiring these certifications, whether it's Sec Plus, whether it's cyber, whatever it's security, whatever it is. They're requiring these because that's how you get your contracts from the government or wherever. It lets people know that you know what you're doing. Again, when you and I walk into a room as a sergeant major or a chief officer 5, people know instant credibility. That person knows what they're doing. The PMP is the same thing. Now, they may find out later that we have no idea what we're doing, you and I, but the first impression is, yes, they know what they're doing. They're certified in that. So when you're certified in something, whether you're a doctor or whatever, and there's malpractice, I get that. But if you're a practicing person, a practicing professional, if you constantly practice that profession, you're an expert. But the PMP itself, it's like it's like a rank in your chest. You walk in, instant credibility. On your resume, instant credibility. That's what you want. But again, the community is a lot more valuable.
I get you, and I totally agree. And it did struck me again when you said that about contracts. If you're going to work, especially if you want to work for a defense contractor,
Yep.
Sure. Anybody trying to get a government contract, and I know in the defense contract world it's definite, like you said, and I'm sure it's across the full spectrum, but they put that as a requirement that you have so many PMPs on your contract. And so that's it's like having a security clearance, right? It's an immediate door opener. Now, yes, right? Once the door is open, you still got to deliver. I get that. And they'll figure that out later. But
it also, having that PMP increases your personal marketability.
Yeah.
It's accredited internationally. It's globally known as the gold standard. So something like this, like the SHRM, the SHRM and then the HRCI, two similar certifications, but the SHRM, but it legitimizes what you know. So really your marketability, that's probably a big thing for it.
Okay. And what,
and you earn more too.
Well, right. Again, right. It shows it, and it's to me, it's more than even just a college degree, because most of the time that college degree is a check block, but we don't really care what you learn per se. But that PMP, as I understand it now, which I did not understand very well, if you've maintained your PMP certification without lapsing it, they know that you have maintained and you know what you're talking about, at least to a minimum, more than the person next to you who hasn't been to the program.
Yeah, of course. And when we talk about salary now, you go for a job and you can negotiate your salary. It's probably higher if you earn the PMP, probably 16 to 30% higher. So let's just say you get $100,000 job. I'm not good at math, so let's get our napkins out here, okay? $100,000 job, and you get a 16% increase for that job. Is that about 16K, $1,000 a month?
Doing
I'm not
good.
sure.
Yeah.
So if I earn that, if I earn now $16,000 or more for having the PMP, and the PMP exam costs, let's say, $400. I'm not good at math, but if I can invest $400 into a exam, pass that, earn that, and then earn $1,000 extra a month for years, it's a good investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, not good at math, but
no,
that's what I
that
found
was
out.
perfect. That was perfect. And so the budding professional, the budding project manager that's going to get a PMP, the person out there, you talked about your route. Is that the route you'd recommend if I'm like, okay, I'm ready, I want to commit, I need to end, my end game is my PMP, of course, being in the PMI in the community. Like what path would you recommend?
So it depends on their experience level.
Okay.
If you're like, let's say a E6 and above, you've been running projects for a while, go for your PMP.
Okay.
The CAP-M, the foundational one, that's for everyone without the PMP, honestly. That's why I think it is, because all this knowledge is for any industry worldwide. So it's not a bad thing. I'm just going through the CAP-M first. I can probably do the PMP. I just want to see the experience that others go through, and it's changing. The CAP-M is changing in July, so it gets tougher. So I'm going to take it now while it's easier, not easy, but easier. So I'll give it a shot. But really, and I have a book here. I was talking to John Connolly, and I had this book, The Unready Project Manager. So it's things like this. This person, we met on LinkedIn, and he's like, "Hey, Matt, I was a librarian, and then I became a project manager." I'm like, "How does it happen?" So I get to know that people transition careers all the time, not just military. So now I know, like, law enforcement, teachers, librarians, they transition careers to find their passion. So he wrote a book about the unready project manager, and I read this thing. I'm like, this is the perfect book for those that don't know what it is yet, but how to get into the field. So he broke it down pretty simply. So I can use that a lot of analogies for those that are coming out of high school, coming out of college, coming out of the military. I can use these things to better frame that conversation to get them in the career they want to get into.
Okay. Wow. And
Good stuff, right?
You're in the PMI community.
Oh, so believe me, before I joined PMI, I already got my account and I was snooping around. I'm like, I want to learn this stuff. I'm like a career navigator. A career navigator on PMI.org.
Mm-hmm.
You feed it a bunch of information. It's all personal information that you want to feed it, and it gives you, here's some goals you want to go. Here's a course you might want to consider based on what you say you want to do, and it gives you progress to get to it. I'm like, it makes my, how the military is with the career maps. Out here, I didn't see any career maps per se, but this thing is like, it's my career map for a project manager or anyone in the profession. If you're not a project manager, it still says, hey, consider these things to increase your ways of working. Increase this to better upskill in this or that. So the Career Navigator free tool, and I deal a lot of free stuff because of the military. There are paid services. Get them if you want to. Check them out. But the free thing, PMI.org, the community, PMI Kickoff. It's a 45-minute course. Took me an hour and a half. I'm slow. A kickoff course is foundational project management in both waterfall, which is a military kind of methodology, and agile. So 2 courses. I give free things away all the time, and people come back blown away. I had no idea. And again, I wish I knew this sooner.
I wish I knew it sooner. That's
we all go through that.
Right. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us have been.
I wish I saved more. I wish I invested in Google. There's so many things, you know.
Right. Well, and it goes back to that saying, right? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is right now.
Right now.
So you can stop wishing and start doing, and that takes the first step. I was wondering, as we're kind of heading towards the wind down here. Would you share your most satisfying moment in this in post transition and in the PMI community? Do you have a moment that just was the most satisfying for you, where you think back to? I know that's a tough question. I'll give you.
No, it is tough, and there's probably a few of them, but I think once I left the military and I got on leave, and then my retirement date hit, I think for me it was relief. Relief that I can finally be who I want to be or who I was. In the military, we kind of put on a persona at times to get promotions, to get this and that. It's playing the game. Out here, I can truly be who I want to be. And it's really a facilitator of conversations or a facilitator of careers without any boundaries. With PMI, of course, there's boundaries. I mean, it's a company. So I work with them. Do you mind me having a personal brand? And I talk about project management. I talk about finances. I talk about military transition. I talk about a lot of different things. Do you mind that? And they embrace it. So for the first time, I feel like I can be who I always wanted to be. Not an NBA basketball player, but just who I want to be.
I love that. I think that's an incredibly important message to our community. Right? Is in the military, sometimes that's extremely difficult. I think some of my most frustrated days were when I wasn't able to be who I thought I was or felt I was. Thanks for sharing that, because that really resonates with me. And I think that's a great thought to end on. And I have to say thank you, Matt, for this, spending this time with me and us today in this great session.
It's been fun.
I've got notes that I took. I'm gonna be talking to you on the side about my PMP, which I had gone back and forth on. So you sold somebody on this.
That's a win then.
Not that you sell, but I see the value in my time, and how it will help me be a better servant to others, better at helping people. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And here I'm going to put the link for PMI, PMI.org in there, so you guys can see that. One of the easiest links out there. I'm going to share a harder link with you for the Leadership Transition Institute.org. That's us, LTI. I really just find it amazing.
When communities connect and mold together, that's when everyone becomes better.
We do. And if a CW5 and a sergeant major can sit here and have an adult conversation about adding value to others without yelling at anybody, anybody can do this.
It's a good day.
That's incredible. So please make sure, if you want to learn more about LTI or even PMI, put it in the chat, put it in Twitter. We'll get back to you. Right. You can also come to our website, leadertransitioninstitute.org, or to the PMI website, pmi.org. And I just want to really thank everybody for being here with us today, with this old W5 and this younger retired sergeant major.
I don't feel good, man.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.